Did you know that we use all different types of technologies to monitor and to control the electrical power grid? I think that begs the question to say, if technology is used in electrical power grid, then do the bad guys know that also?
Oh, hell no!
They seem to be hacking everything: hospital systems, financial organizations, all these different places. But are the bad guys trying to get into the electrical power grid also? We'll talk more about it in this video. Hi, and welcome back to Struggle Security, where we normalize struggling in cybersecurity. This field isn't always easy, and my channel is purposed to really break down some of these difficult concepts, or really even give you an introduction to some of these cybersecurity concepts to make it easier for you to not struggle in cybersecurity. Welcome back, and the subject for today is hacking the electrical power grid. But before we get into it, I want you to hit the subscription bell, hit the notification bell, and subscribe so you can get more and more of this type of content. Back to the subject of hacking the electrical power grid. And I want to kind of start off here, right? We want to talk about technology, because technology has changed the way that we live every single day. We use technology for everything from daily banking to ordering lunch for today, to catching up with grandma over a video call app, and to even setting up our dates for the upcoming weekend. Many of us use technology on a daily basis, but we only think of it in many cases as something social or some type of personal use. But it literally is the backbone to our nation's critical infrastructure. We use technology for everything, including monitoring and controlling the electrical power grid. And the bad guys know that too.
Oh, hell no!
Quick explanation, because many of you might not really understand what the electrical power grid is. It really has three different components here: generation, distribution, and transmission. I'm going to explain them very generally first. Generation is where electricity is produced, where one form of energy is converted into a different form of energy in the form of electrical energy. In the case of nuclear power generation, energy from splitting of atoms is used to generate electricity. Transmission is the process of delivering generated electricity, usually over long distances, to the distributed grid located in popular areas like in residential areas, maybe right up the street from your home. And distribution is where substations feed those industrial, commercial, and residential, that's you, customers, so that you and I can enjoy charging our laptops and our iPhones. The next question comes to, where does technology exist in the electrical grid? Because I started off by saying that technology is in absolutely everything. And I want to reaffirm that point. And I'm going to give two different examples of where that is. I was speaking to you earlier about generation, right? When a generation plant operator goes into their plant environments, they want to monitor certain things like plant efficiency. And they look at different systems called HMIs, or human machine interfaces. And these human machine interfaces are pretty much like health monitors to all plant environments, to what's happening there. What are the pressures? What are the health systems? What are the temperatures within the plant environment? And the thing about this, going back to the technology piece, is that HMIs are just stripped down computers. So technology is right there within that process. The second one I want to talk about is to think about when there's an electrical storm, or maybe a squirrel has gotten on a line in your residential area, right? Your power might go out. So the electrical grid monitoring organizations get a signal from that particular area, and they're able to send linemen and people to service your environment so that you're able to get restored electrical power. The thing about this is that that signal typically goes over a telecommunication signal or maybe some wireless signal. And these devices that send those signals are called IEDs, or intelligent electrical devices. Again, technology, and I just want to drive that point. Technology is embedded in all of these different electrical power systems. But let's get into the main subject about the idea of hacking the electrical power grid. Is it possible? Is it possible? And the answer that I want to give to you, I don't want to be so long-winded about it, but the answer is yes, and absolutely yes.
Oh, hell no!
But the next question that you might have is that how? You say that electrical power grids can be hacked, but how can they be hacked? And I want to kind of bring your attention to several principles here. A couple of different principles about cybersecurity is the idea of confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Confidentiality is that the right information only goes into the eyes, or only people that are permitted to see certain information can see it. Availability is the whole idea that services need to continue and to continue running, just like YouTube, right? YouTube servers need to continue serving YouTube to you all, right? If it stops, that means that there's a violation of availability of that web service. And the third one is integrity. The right information needs to be right. It can't be altered. But the thing that's very important about the electrical grid organizations is that mainly they focus on availability. They focus primarily on availability of services. They want to continuously provide you with power and make power available to you for all of your electrical power uses, such as keeping the lights on at home. Some of the different ways that these electrical grid organizations are violated or are hacked, I want to bring up 3 different examples of where I've seen this. Sometimes when I go on site, and this is something that I do regularly, is do these security assessments for industrial environments, specifically utility organizations. And the thing about it is that not all cybersecurity hygiene is applied to many of these different utility organizations. One thing that I've spoke about earlier is that there's monitoring and control of these electrical utility organizations with these different devices like HMIs. But sometimes these HMIs or other electrical devices within power systems environments, they can be directly connected to the internet. This can be a big problem because the equipment used to turn on and turn off the lights in your environment can be directly connected to the internet, and the bad guys can get access to that too. So they can affect those different systems in order to turn the lights off in some cases. The second one is that in many of these utility environments, one thing that we can see is antiquated operating systems in the form of Windows XP, Windows 7, or Windows Server 2008 R2. These are operating systems that have many and a wide range of exploits and vulnerabilities. And the thing about it is that they still exist in many of these electrical grid organizations because the equipment is old. The electrical equipment, the electrical grid is old. So the operating system needs to stay in step with those older systems. So if a bad guy was able to get in through a network or through an internet connection, the fact is that they can probably throw out all types of exploits and be able to compromise those different systems. And the third one I want to bring your attention to is that of different APT groups in the form of Samworm. They have been utilizing a lot of these different exploits, to try to get into the electrical grid organizations. And we've seen this from Sandworm, that APT group, where in this recent Ukrainian-Russian war, where if you look at one of my past videos, I go into some detail about that, but there have been new exploits thrown out there. There was something that had recently come out called Indestroyer 2, which has the ability to affect an industrial protocol called IEC 104. And this, like I mentioned before, gives control to turn on and turn off the lights. So we've seen 3 different examples to prove that electrical grid organizations can be hacked, but that's not it. Wait for the part 2, where I'm going to talk about some remediations and things that organizations and really the nation has been doing in order to help to protect these environments from the bad guys, from the cyber hackers. Hopefully this has been valuable to you. Again, I want to remind you to subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can get more and more of this content. Thanks.